everyone, and welcome to episode 437 of the MTG Goldfish podcast. I'm Seth, probably better known as Saffron Olive, and we have the full crew here this week, kicking things off with the owner of MTG Goldfish, Richard. How are you this fine Monday, Richard?
Good morning, Seth. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty well. We got the full Lord of the Rings set, so we got some interesting stuff to talk about, but I'm getting ahead of myself. We also got another co-host in Krim. Good morning, Krim, and welcome back. You've been across the world the last few days, right? How was Germany?
Yeah, Germany was amazing. Y'all have amazing coffee out there. Like, oh my god. Also,
really? Is it that good?
Yeah. It's like good. Like, I don't know. Maybe it's just the spot I went to, but like I thought it was primo cold brew. You can tell a lot about a place by just its cold brew. But on top of that, as I told Seth, I'm freshly logged off Diablo 4. I haven't gone to bed yet, so let's get this cast going, baby.
Oh, well, that sounds like
This is why I don't play Diablo, by the way.
Oh,
I'm an old man. I know what's going to happen. I'm like, nah.
I totally try to get Richard to play. He's like, dude, I have a kid, dude. I'm like, all right, word.
It's too hardcore for me.
So our overview for today, we're gonna kind of wrap up the Lord of the Rings set now that we have the full thing, talk about a few more cards, the ring Temps mechanic, and also we got some Pioneer news. There's a bunch of Pioneer tournaments going on, so we want to talk a bit about that as well before hopefully answering some fish mail this week. Before we jump into it, a couple of reminders. First, today's show is brought to you by Card Conduit, and Card Conduit's the easiest way to sell your Magic cards. And if you're tired of all the hassles that go into buy listing your cards, Card Conduit lets you skip them with their curated service. You can send in as many cards as you want with a buy list value of $1 or more and pay just a 5% service fee. And if you want to do a bit of work, you can use their sorted service where you list and sort your cards in advance and pay just a 2% fee. And no matter which one you choose, you're going to get a detailed report with your results and a fast payment once your order is processed. And you can get another 10% off if you head over to cardconduit.com/mtggoldfish. Card Conduit, they're the easiest way to sell your Magic cards. We also have another sponsor this week with Magic at Sea, and Magic at Sea is the ultimate way to play Magic the Gathering. You can join players from around the world for this unique tournament on one of the most immersive cruise ships in the Caribbean. Featuring Commander and sealed events, you'll have a chance to win prizes from a huge prize pool and make new friends, all while enjoying a 6-night Caribbean vacation. The ship sails March 17th, 2024, and space is limited, so check out magicatsea.net today to get some more details. Thank you to Magic at Sea for supporting the show. And let's talk some Magic, and let's start with Lord of the Rings. So we got the full set. We know the full Lord of the Rings set. First, before we get into the cards and the mechanics, this was just a commander set, right? Like, now that we see the full thing, is there, like, because remember when this started, we were like, thought it was a modern set. There was even some fears it would be like the new Modern Horizons. This was just a commander set that they like made legal in Modern. Is that a fair representation of this set?
Look, I want to say, yeah, that's a pretty fair representation of it. But there's a part of me that would just chuckle if, like, randomly, I don't know, one of the Gandalfs popped off in Modern or something like that. I'm hoping. But right now, it's feeling very much so like Commander Legends, like 1.5 in between this and Commander Masters. So, although the last time we said that, I guess like a bunch of cards like popped off in 60 card format. So
just looking for true name nemesis here. There's got to be some card here that they overlooked that was designed for Commander that will just randomly pop off in Modern. Like, you can always creativity into like Gandalf if you want and see if you can
see what happens.
Win so with a single Gandalf after creativity into it. Like, you can actually reanimate and cheat some of these cards into play. I'm not sure if you can rub salt in the wounds of your opponent.
Lose the game.
yeah. I mean, I don't think reanimating any of this stuff's better than like an Archon of Cruelty, but I do think like there are some modern cards. There's not like no modern cards in the set. The closest thing to True Name is probably Orcish Bowmasters, I guess. Like, that's if there's anything that like is a staple, it's probably that. But I don't know. What do you think? So like, if Wizards is going to make sets like this that are mostly designed for Commander, do you like that it's Modern legal? Now that we've gotten this full picture and it's like, I don't know, what do you think? Should they make these sets Modern legal? Should they make like Commander Legends Modern legal at this point? Like, should they just be like pulling out all the stops and being like, whatever, throw it into Modern?
I mean, look, why only have legacy players complain about initiative when you can also have modern players complain about initiative, right? So, like, I'm kind of here for making the suffering equal for all the people.
It costs nothing. You just need the expectation that this is not a Horizons set. Like, this is legal and modern, but we didn't design it for modern. And I think that's a good thing, right? Because if you designed it for modern, you'd have Horizon 6 if you wanted more than like 2 playables, or you'd have 0 playables. Like, they'd actually have 0 play. Like, it's very hard to get a card into modern, right? So you actually need to make a Horizons power level set to get them into modern. So making a commander set is fine. It's just the expectation, right? We were all scared of Gandalf aggro or whatever, right? It's not happening, right? It's just coincidentally legal and modern. And if you find a random gem in here that makes into modern, then good for you. But it is a commander set through and through.
Yeah.
I mean, better that than like having it be where every time. I mean, I guess like if they're designing with commander in mind, it feels a little bit better, right? Than it would with like a Horizon set, because I think one of the biggest things that I had, or one of the biggest problems I had, was modern. You know, we talked about it before. Modern feels like it rotates all the time now. And
but if they just made it standard legal, then you can play in standard. You can play like with all the cards. Or actually, maybe not. Maybe still be playing. Whatever
I feel like 5 of these cards. I think the only one that would get played in standard would be like that legendary anthem, and like that's like about it, right?
I was wondering why they didn't put it in standard, and someone brought up that people would have really freaked out over the prices if it was a standard set. Like, so Wizards, maybe they knew they wanted to sell it for like way more than a normal set, and to just like avoid the freak out of $200 boxes being standard legal and like that kind of stuff, they just felt like they couldn't do that, which actually I could see that being true. That makes some amount of sense to me, that like standard, you have the expectation of like $100 boxes, like normally priced boxes. There's never been like a supplemental set like this that's like super expensive. So I could see that being the reason. Although power level wise, I think it would be perfectly fine. And I wish they would make more sets modern legal. Like, I'm hyped to like play some of these cards. I'm not under any illusion they're going to break the format, which is probably good, but there's some decks I want to build with Lord of the Rings cards now. Like, it's new stuff to try out over the summer at least.
Are you a fan of Lord of the Rings now, Seth?
I finished the 3rd movie this weekend, so I have made it through all 3 movies.
Give us your review. Review.
A hero. Is it still as bad as we remember?
So basically, everyone wants the ring. They walk around a lot. Eventually, they get rid of the ring. Why were there like ghost people? That's the part that got like, you go through this whole movie of like this big thing, and then all of a sudden the ending is like, we're gonna get ghost people to win the war for us. Like,
you mean the Wraiths?
I don't know. What were like the dead people he talked to? They're like transparent ghost people that owed an oath or something. You know what I'm talking about? Am I crazy?
Are you talking about the Nazgul?
No, the good guys. They fought with Aragon, like the ghost people to win the war. I thought that was weird. Like, that was kind of a weird.
That's where your suspension of.
That's what lost me. Yeah, the walking trees
the
were
elves,
fine. The orcs were fine. Yeah,
walking around like dragons.
All that was fine, but the ghost people.
No.
Yeah, too silly for me.
That's just not possible. That's just not possible in this world. Yeah, no, your immersion. I understand.
I know. It's broken. It's broken. Yeah. Anyway, so Lord of the Rings set. You mentioned initiative, and I wanted to bring up the ring Tempts mechanic. Specifically because it seems like everyone has written this mechanic off as just like a casual commander thing, a limited thing. But people did the same thing with initiative, and then initiative ended up literally breaking legacy. Is there any chance we're underrating the ring Tempts you? So just so people know what it is, like, there's a bunch of cards that say the ring Tempts you, and the ring itself has 4 levels. And when you ring Tempts you can make one of your creatures into your ring bearer. They get that abilities. First one is the creature is legendary, can't be blocked by creatures with greater power. Second one is when your ring bearer attacks, you get to draw a card, discard a card. Third one is when it becomes blocked, the creature's controller sacrifices it at the end of combat. So if someone blocks it, they got to sack their creature. Last one, if it actually connects for combat damage, each opponent loses 3 life. Is there any way this is actually a thing in Modern? Like, are we gonna say, similar to Initiative, that everyone's like this silly commander thing, Wizards did it for flavor purposes, and then it broke a format? Is the ring, like, should we be taking this seriously, or is it safe to just write off as a commander thing?
Okay, so let's just we're talking Legacy, Seasoned Dungeoneer, right?
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't that the card that broke Legacy?
Yep.
Okay, I somehow think that the initiative does more than whatever the ring bearer does.
I think that's true. And I think part of the thing
Right,
with
like-
initiative is it keeps going. Like, the ring tempts you, once you get all 4, you've kind of maxed it out. Like, you can keep moving it to different creatures, but it's not going to keep looping around like initiative or dungeons where you just keep going and going and going forever.
Yeah. And I think that's why, right? Like, it's funny enough, if they want this to be in modern, I think this has got to be like way more powerful.
What do you think?
I
It needs to be a
think-
combo piece. It's not a value card. It's not strong enough.
Okay, so
And we have creatures. We have creatures in mod. Like, the problem with Legacy is it's like if you dropped a random 6-drop standard creature into Legacy somehow, it would wreck face. Like, people are
Nick
not
Fit
prepared
theory.
for this. Exactly, right? It's the Nick Fit theory. But in modern, we're equipped for creatures. Right? We're equipped for spells as well. So I don't know, but like, if you could somehow combo off with the ring bearer, then maybe that's a way to do it. But I don't know about the value ring bearer.
So what about this? So the first level, the easiest one to obtain, you only need to be tempted once, makes it so the creature can't be blocked by creatures with greater power. Is there any chance we could see, there's a card called Birthday Escape, which is just 1 blue mana sorcery, draw a card, the ring tempts you. Is there any way we see like a Dreadhorde Arcanist ring tempts you deck, where the idea is like, you're not trying to go through the ring, you're just making it so your Arcanist is like unblockable with something like Birthday Escape, and then you're free to like try to snowball the Arcanists every turn because your opponent really can't block it, or if they do, it's with a 1/1 or a X1 and it's not going to die anyway. Like, is that a or like Prowess? You make your Swift Spear the ring bearer so it can't really be blocked, then swing and then cast a bunch of spells to pump it post the blocks. Like, could we see anything like that? Is that, or am I just like totally off base and this is like,
People block in
why
modern.
even do this?
Like,
yeah,
would Hammer Time want a ring bearer?
it's a little awkward once a hammer's on a creature because that first mode's not going to do a whole lot. But I mean, I guess if you can flash the hammer in after blocks, like attack, make it
Yeah.
unblockable, and then flash it in. Because there are 1-mana ways to do this. Like, it's not like they
Right,
put a really
right.
big tax on. There's also like a sorcery speed shock that has the ring tempt you. Like, so
Yeah.
there
You
are
just play
cheap-
Aqueous form, Seth.
But what about the Lord of the Rings? I want to
Well,
summon the
but
ghost
Aqueous-
people to defeat my opponent in Modern, Richard.
The Aqueous stuff, like the Aqueous form thingy, all cards like that, don't come attached to like a mediocre 1-drop in white. Okay, you know what?
It's
Yeah.
better, right? It's a 1-drop
Yeah.
that gives you an Aqueous form. So it is technically an upgrade, but
I mean,
I'm not sure that's the power level push we needed to make Aqueous form viable in a generic deck.
like, this is kind of like an equipment, right? Is that the best way to think about the ring? Is like, this is this weird equipment that you level up throughout the game and eventually, and you get to move it around without paying any mana. Instead, you have to have the ring tempt you to move it around. Like, is
Yeah, but it has useless abilities. Like,
that is the
people
that is
do
of
not
the
try to
problem.
block in Modern. Like, maybe once in a, but like normally everything that kills you is evasive, right? So you're not relying on blocking, and you're relying on one of like 18 top tier removal spells to get you through this, and the ring doesn't protect you against any of that, right?
Yeah, that is true. And you do, while the cards are not bad that have the ring tempt you, they're also not the best options. Like, you're playing
I
sorcery
would
speed instead of
say
instant
they're-
speed or whatever. So you're like, you're downgrading compared to what is available in Modern. So you actually really have to be able to take advantage of it. So I don't think it's initiative, right? Like, we're safe. We're safe from the ring tempting us. It's more of like an against the odds deck.
Is the
Yeah.
ring tempting you even viable in Commander? Like, where it's supposed to be played?
I mean, so it is worth mentioning, like, I think the way you got to do it is there's some cards that care about the when you're tempted by the ring. Like, there's, I gotta look these up. There's like a Gandalf that whenever the ring tempts you, you get to draw a card if you choose a non-Gandalf creature as your ring bearer. So I think maybe that's the direction to go. Like, not so much because you're getting value out of the ring itself, but you have other cards that do things like the Nazguls. When the ring tempts you, you put a counter on all your race, I think, or on all your Nazguls. Like, stuff like that, I think, is how you have to build around it in Commander. Like, I don't think you play this for value, but if you have a bunch of cards that give you additional value value, kind of like food tokens. You know, food tokens, like sack it for 2, gain 3 life is not very good, but if you have additional synergies for artifacts entering the battlefield or for stuff being sacrificed in Core Vault, then they become really strong. That's kind of how I'm viewing the ring, I think, for Commander mostly.
I don't even... you know what? Yeah, okay. Actually, as I'm kind of like reading, as I'm like trying to quickly skim through the stuff where the ring tempts me is like actually kind of good in Commander, and it's okay.
I mean, I will say
Okay.
Frodo's sweet, right? You can have the ring tempt you 4 times and one-shot someone.
I think I would rather... No, yeah, I think initiative's just better.
Oh, yes. It definitely... No, I don't... There's no argument, I don't think, that initiative is better.
Outside of flavor, right? Like, maybe I'm building a Lord of the Rings deck, then sure, the ring can tempt away, right? But I don't think any of this is... It's going to be a flavor win. For all the, like... So I'm speaking strictly as somebody who does not like Lord of the Rings at all. I think this is a flavor win. This is a flavor first set. And I think it's just... That's just the way it is. I think there's no reason to copium. You know, this set is a dud for us that don't care about Lord of the Rings set. It's okay.
I don't even know that it's a flavor win, though. Now that I sort of watched the movies, by fast-forwarding through the parts I didn't like...
Wait, the ghosts were really the biggest that you had a problem with, though?
That was
like,
a deal
seriously?
breaker.
I thought you were trolling. Okay, hold on. Wait a minute.
But...
What?
Yeah. Are you a fan of the Ghost, Krim? What? I'm confused.
I mean, well, okay, it's not that I'm a fan of the ghosts, it's just they didn't bother me. It's just like,
Okay.
oh no, my experience is ruined. If anything, that's one of the cooler parts, I thought.
That's because Seth doesn't watch Star Wars.
Yeah, that's true. I was
Where
looking for the
ghosts just come
Ewoks. I didn't find any
randomly help
Ewoks.
Oh lord, until you find out about Force ghosts. Oh man.
But seriously,
Seth's
though,
on board until then.
is the ring tempt you even a flavor win, Richard? You know Lord of the Rings pretty
Yeah.
well. Wouldn't, like, after watching the movie, it made me think that something like Monarch would actually be, like, more flavorful, because everyone's trying to get the ring, like, they're attacking each other to get the ring. That's, like, kind of goes through all 3 of those movies, right? Like, wouldn't something like the Monarch, where someone has it, and then, like, someone else tries to get it from them to get the powers, and it keeps moving around, wouldn't that be more of a flavor win than what we have
like
now?
the most dark confidant-ish card you've ever seen, right? It should give you great power with great drawback.
Yeah, actually,
and everyone should be coming for it, but they copped out. They're like, oh, if we put a negative on it, people won't play. Just like people don't play bomb. Like, casual players do not play
I
dark
wonder
confidant cards.
if that's because, though, like, maybe an IP thing. Like, hey,
Maro said they took out the negative on it because
They want
would
people
not
to play it or something, yeah.
Okay. Because I was like wondering, like, oh, did like all of a sudden, you know, the Lord of the Rings world said, oh, you can't say anything that requires you dying or, like, you know, losing life if you use this ring. It's like, you know, like how Nintendo or Pokemon Company has the Pikachu clause, like, you know. So like,
I think the only clause is you can only use the books. So no movies, no Amazon, whatever. Like, no extra things, but like the books are what you have, and you can use the books.
I will say that, yeah, like, I'm not gonna lie to you, the ring does not tempt me at all. If you have the ring, you can get tempted away. I will gladly forfeit the ring to you. I do not want what powers that may come of it.
Let's talk about some of the cards from the set. There's not a huge list. We talked about a lot of them last week, but there's a handful of cards that I'm kind of curious what y'all think of them. So Richard, why don't you take us through a few spoiler cards?
Okay, Dawn of a New Age. You can find all these cards at mtgpreviews.com. But we're gonna start with this white mythic enchantment. It's 1 and a white. It's an enchantment. Dawn of a New Age enters a battlefield with a hope counter on for each creature you control. At the beginning of your end step, remove a hope counter from Dawn of a New Age. If you do, draw a card. Then if Dawn of a New Age has no hope counters on it, sacrifice it and gain 4 life.
So I also want to add in, because this card's a little bit similar, I actually put the wrong name on the list, but it's Horn of the Mark. It's a 2-mana legendary artifact. It says, whenever 2 or more creatures you control attack a player, look at the top 5 cards of your library. You can reveal a creature card from among them, put it in your hand, put the rest on the bottom. So another 2-mana way to generate card advantage for a deck that has a bunch of creatures. Are either of these cards in the conversation for Legacy or modern, like 60 card formats, like, could this be like, okay, you're playing aggro deck, you're playing your, Champion of the Palace, Shindathalia's Lieutenant, and then you like play this out of the sideboard to like draw some cards against a control deck, like. No, is that just way too
first
fair?
off,
It's so comfy.
you just said a control deck that doesn't exist in modern, dude. Like that's like first off, that doesn't exist in modern. Second off, no, dude. Like
no, okay.
What you gonna play Phyrexian Arena in modern?
They're only 2 mana. No, they're only 2 mana. Okay.
If my opponent goes champion, it's a Thalia. It's a 3 mana Dawn of Anu. I mean, whoa! I was about to get steamrolled there, but they decided to go flavor on me. But they're playing a team deck.
But then they draw a card, Richard, on their end step, and eventually they gain some life.
I'll concede to the flavor. I'll concede to flavor. How about that? If that's the case.
What about the artifact one? Like, which one is better? Like, let's say they're both bad for 60 card formats. If you did have to play
Dawn, because it pitches to Solitude.
Yeah, I guess that's okay.
Wow,
okay.
that is like a game of percentages right there.
All right, what about Commander then? Like, you play a lot of creature decks, Richard. Would either of these be like a Kithkin card? Like, or are they just not?
Yo,
not
I literally
enough?
play creatures as much as. Whoa.
I don't know if I've ever seen Crim attack with 2 creatures on the same combat.
Yeah,
like, has that ever happened
it
before?
Is a creature. Gonti is a creature. Read the types.
Look. Go. Yeah, you go, Richard.
I don't think they're as good as people hope they are. They like it's 2 mana. And you want to play it on 2, but you have no creatures on 2, so it's kind of useless, right? You need to actually play it a little later.
Yep.
It's better than Arena because you get the cycle immediately. But, I'm not really happy playing like a turn 5 for Phyrexian Arena, right? Like at that point, I want some burst card draw, not the slow incremental card draw. And I can't play this early. Like even on 3, you may not have enough creatures to do anything beyond cycle or draw 1. So I actually don't think it's that good of a card. Maybe if you're a token deck or something and you can like curve out 3 tokens by turn 2 or something. I don't know. It looks like Arena, but it's not really Arena. The condition is actually pretty substantial for when you can play this on curve.
Do you remember, Kim, there's a card in Standard that's like a 2 mana artifact that's a clue token? I no one's ever played it, and it like ETBs with a counter for each creature. Whichever player has the most creatures, it's essentially the same Investigator's Journal or something.
I played that with Phyrexia All will be one.
Yeah, it's kind of similar to that, right? Like this is like a slightly upgraded white version, kind of like the way it's worded. And the problem with Investigator's Journal, like Richard was saying, like it's a 2-drop you can't run out on turn 2, right? You just don't have enough creatures, so it's a 2-drop that you can't play until like turn 4 or turn 5. And by that point, like you start to lose value with your Phyrexian Arena mode. What about Horn of the Mark though? The way that's worded. Whenever 2 or more creatures you control attack a player. So in Commander, if you have 6 creatures and send 2 and 2 and 2, you're going to get 3 triggers and be able to go, 5 cards deep, grab a creature, 5 cards. Like, what about that in Kithkin, Richard? Is that enough to make you want to put it in your, like, Kithkin deck or Bird deck or whatever?
Maybe birds, but
Okay.
Kithkin, no. If you send 2 Kithkin at someone, they're just gonna die, right? So,
but you can use the
maybe
untap mechanic and make another Kithkin in response.
Maybe
replaced
if you play
itself.
Delta. Like if you play like really big beefy creatures where you can actually send 2 it and they live.
Yeah,
birds
but then
is a good
how
one 'cause
you?
they're evasive.
This is like a go wide card. There ain't no way you're going
You
tall.
just need
with
2
this card.
creatures.
Yeah, but
It's not that
if you want maximum value, right? You want 6 creatures, yeah.
Okay, if you have
I want
6
6
creatures and are free to attack, like I think you're beyond the Horn of the Mark stage. Like you're gonna tap out all your creatures, not kill anyone, and draw 3 creatures and
Hell
die
yeah.
on the swing back.
That does
That
sound like
sounds
something
like a
I would
good
do.
time.
Yeah. Okay. Let's write those 2 off. There's another enchantment though. This might be the most hyped card in the set, Richard. What about Spiteful Banditry? What's that card do?
All right, X red enchantment at Mythic. When it enters the battlefield, it deals X damage to each creature. When 1 or more creatures your opponents control die, you create a treasure token. This ability triggers only once each turn.
I know you love
So
Meat
the
Hook
red-
Massacre, Krim.
This
Meat
is
Hook
the red
Massacre.
meat hook, right? This is the red meat hook.
Is it on
Or
the
it's
same
Temps.
power level? Is it
Not
on the
at
same
all.
power level as Meat Hook?
No.
Not at all. This is nowhere near the same. the similarities is that it's a color pip and X and enchantment. That's the similarities to me. Otherwise, like, Meat Hook gets around indestructible, right?
True.
Which is attached to everything nowadays. Second off, Meat Hook allows you to stay in the game while you're losing stuff. You're also like draining the table, right? Their stuff's dying. You're draining the table. Like it's great. Whenever one or more creatures your opponents control die, you create a treasure token. This ability triggers only once each turn. Now, obviously, this card had to be balanced, but because it's only once each turn, I'm sorry, this is really bad, right? Like, this is like I think this card is like hilariously bad.
Really? For 60 card formats or in Commander too? Like just bad.
Commander.
Really?
Commander, and then in 60 card format, I definitely don't want this.
60 card formats. What about Indomitable Creativity though? You like play this, sweep the board, treasure, turn it into an Archon? Any chance in that like one specific situation?
I actually like that, but only it depends on the meta, right? Because like if I have to pop my treasures to make this do like 2 damage, right? Because like, you know what I mean? Like it's like how much? Because I've got to kill stuff on your turn, right? For me to net the treasure. So I don't know. Actually, I still don't. Why would this be better than like, let's just say Brotherhood's End? Right? Like I would just
you get a treasure, I guess.
This is 5 mana to do a Brotherhood End though.
Yeah,
like, treasure.
Like how you gonna kill a Murktide with, you know, like you can't even kill a Tarmogoyf with this. Like that's how bad it is.
Heaven forbid Surge of Salvation takes off or something like that, and you just get pantsed for that one. Good lord.
In Commander, though, isn't this good? Like, even with the once per turn restriction, like, isn't it just going to make a lot of... We've seen Revel in Riches just, like, sit out on the battlefield and creatures trade off, creatures die. Isn't this going to make a lot of treasures if you play it early in the game? Just, like, even if you're not trying to build around it, just from, like, a game of Commander happening and things dying and trading off and whatnot.
I think this is just, like, when you think about it in a power level, like, in a vacuum, I think this is just not enough. It just doesn't do enough. It's once per turn. And it kind of it's like, if I'm just playing this as a 2 mana enchantment that sits out there to generate me 1 treasure each turn.
It's like Smothering Tithe, almost.
If you really dying on every opponent's turn.
No.
Wow, this is out too.
No, this is not that. Yeah, no, I like... Look, I don't even want to get, like, I think this card is just offensive. Like in command, like, to anyone saying that this is, like, remotely close to a Meatball Massacre, this is so far from it. This is the farthest thing from it.
Really? I would argue it's as good or better than Meat Hook in Commander.
Better?
Yeah.
As good?
I think like as good better than draining. Like, yeah, if you're in a sacrifice deck, Meat Hook is better. But if you're just playing in a generic deck, I think I'd rather have 1 treasure per turn as things die than incidental draining as things die.
Look, there's a new way. I think there's a way that we've got to start evaluating cards, right? Like, there's a separate way. There's the 60 card evaluation and there's the Commander evaluation, right? So, Commander evaluation, I think that this is going to draw you more hate than it should. And it's going to get you killed. Yeah, because you're representing it, and it's not going to do enough to warrant the heat you're going to get. At least Meatball Massacre, like, the slow drain, you're actually staying alive. Because things are dying, right? And it's refilling your health. So...
Everyone overlooks the drain. No, like, if you gain a life, lose a life, no one really cares until it, super adds up. If you're gaining treasures, people take notice. And they will just... not trade off all their creatures, right? So, like, to me, the real thing is you do this, and then someone plays Sacred Tribe Elder. Like, how many self-sacrifices are there versus, like, combat, right? But, like, even a sweeper doesn't help you. If someone sweeps the board, you get 1 token. Like, that's not cool, right? You actually need people to engage in, like, bloody combat every turn, and not against you. So that you gain treasures. And I don't really see that happening. Like I see some value, like maybe you get a Tribe Elder. Like what do people sacrifice? If someone plays a sacrifice deck, probably doesn't help because they'll probably just do it all in 1 turn and kill.
To be honest with you, yeah, like if
right.
Check this out. They're gonna have Meat Hook Massacre. You're gonna have this. You're gonna get 1 treasure, and then you're gonna die.
What are you imagining to trigger all these tokens for you?
I mean, like. How many do you have to make for it to be worth it? Like, if you're getting an extra treasure each turn cycle, that's not bad.
Let's say you get 1 treasure each turn. Is that each turn cycle. Is that a playable card?
If
I
this
would
had
say yes.
flash, this would be better.
That's
Wow,
true of
that
almost
just reduces
every
cost
Magic
by
the
one.
Gathering card, yeah.
This would be better. I'm sorry, I just don't think this is good enough.
Or you like the flash earthquake mode? Like also like who
Yeah.
plays earthquake?
Yeah.
Right, like-
try sweeping a green player with this, right? Like it's not happening.
what about the battle argument that it adds red pips for Nykthos? Can I at least get that? Like
Oh,
2
that's
red
that.
pips?
Oh yeah,
okay,
for sure.
okay,
Oh
there
yeah,
we
you're
go.
popping
Okay.
out devotion count too, at least, baby.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, that's gonna do that.
I'll accept that. Ooh, this
Mono
next
red
card.
devotion in modern. Here it
This-
is.
Ooh, this one
is it.
This one, speaking of modern, I really need Crim's opinion on this in modern, and also Richard's. Flame of Andor. Richard, what's this one do?
1 blue and a red, 3 mana instant, and is it? It's a rare. Choose one. If you control a wizard as you cast this, you may choose 2 instead. Target player draws 2 cards. Destroy target artifact. It deals 5 damage to target creature.
Is Snapcaster back? Like, Snapcaster is a
Wizard.
wizard. You play this, you draw your cards, you snap it back for 5 mana. That would have been so good in, like, remember Sphinx's Rev Modern in, like, 2015? That Jeskai control
Yeah,
deck with
I
Snapcaster.
still play
would-
it, actually, Seth. That's my
it
deck
would-
list.
It would be so good in that deck. Like, if we were a decade ago, this would be a modern staple. But what about now?
Yeah, so as you said, decade ago, card would have been like an auto include, like probably playset. Current year, I'm trying to think like what are the most popular wizards played in modern right now? Right, like Dark Confidant not here, so I can't play Grixis
Swift
because
Sphere.
It would have to be like,
Wait.
is it Prowess Shell? Like,
Wait.
Swift Spear, Arcanist.
It
yeah,
kills
actually,
Shieldred.
Prowess
Prowess is
is-
Shieldred in modern.
Prowess is a shell that can go on, but like, isn't that just a strict downgrade? Like, maybe it's like, okay, if I don't have the Murktides and all that, so like, I'll play, is it Prowess? Like, I think this has a shot of maybe making 1 or 2 copies if like you're a Prowess deck, the Brave Soul. But I don't. The problem here is that 5 damage doesn't go to face.
Yeah.
It
I need that
kills-
damage to go to face.
And 5 damage doesn't
Maybe
even kill
half
everything
creatures
you
in modern.
want. Yeah, like it's
Yeah.
not going to kill the Goe for the Death Shadow or the Primeval Titan.
It definitely doesn't do that.
Murktide.
Yeah.
Is it just worse than Prismari Command? That seems like the main
Actually, yeah.
competition.
Yeah.
Like, is this just bad
Yeah.
Prismari Command?
Especially when you factor into the fact that Prismari Command is eluding at instant speed, and we all know in modern your graveyard is your second hand, right? So I actually think that because I can't discard with this, it actually sucks.
And
You can't
the
make the treasure.
treasure
I mean,
is
you can't make
big
the
for
treasure.
No one plays
creativity.
Prismari Command outside of creativity. Right? It's not like Murktide
True.
is like itching to play that card, right? That card is played specifically to make that treasure. This
Man.
one kills an artifact, which is I guess something. Draws 2 cards, which we have a million cards.
This is
to
a
draw
great
cards
commander
with.
card. I think this is a sweet commander card.
Deals
I-
5 damage to only
And-
half the
and-
creatures in modern.
What about Crim? You mentioned Commander. We'll talk Commander in a minute. What about Historic? I know in Historic, there is like that tier Is It Wizards deck. I think that won
Yeah.
like back in February, the last big tournament.
Yeah.
Is this fast enough for that deck? That deck's full of wizards. It wants a lot of spells.
Definitely no.
Wait, what? This is not good enough for Pioneer?
No. Let's read this here again. Now, like you want to talk about that deck? That deck is all about spell efficiency, right?
Yeah, you just like die on
It's-
turn 2 or turn 3. Like
Oh,
it's
it's
super
a
fast.
burst.
Yeah, like you're trying to cast like whatever that Symmetry Sage and to give something a base 3 power, but you can't be loading your deck up with a bunch of Flame of Andor and it's not hitting face. It can hit a creature as many times as it wants, but like essentially it has one mode in that deck and it's draw 2 cards. So
And they
So-
have the rebalanced like Mentor's Guidance or whatever that's like 2 mana, scry 1 draw,
Yeah.
and if you have a wizard
Yeah.
you get to copy it. Like that's
Yeah,
if you're just
that's
drawing
just better.
cards, the rebalanced version of Mentor's Guidance is just better, I think.
right, and it's just and like if you're buffing your Dreadhorde Arcanist or whatever to 3 power, you're probably casting Wizard's Lightning and just closing out games as opposed to
Yeah.
I don't know, blowing up a creature or something.
So what about
I mean,
Commander
Seth,
then?
if you look at
Okay.
the other way, it's an instant speed divination.
That's
Are you playing
true.
this?
No.
Like, when was the last time you were excited for divination in any format, right?
I mean,
Good
like,
lord, you're right.
Archmage's Charm, but I think Archmage's Charm has the base mode of counter a spell, which makes it
Yeah.
worth it. And this doesn't have anything
And
like
steal
on
a
that level.
Ragavan.
Steal a Ragavan.
Or steal a Ragavan, DRC, a hammer. Like, there's a lot you can do. Archmage's Charm is cracked.
This is more castable though. The
What-
problem
what
with
about-
Archmage's
what
Charm
about
is how do you
vintage?
cast it?
It has
Vintage.
destroy artifacts. It does something with artifacts. So are we eternal
That's true.
playable?
Are there
It's Dak Faded.
No.
are there wizards like does Snapcaster see play? I haven't kept up on
Snapcaster.
vintage recently. Like if there's like if you're only getting one mode, it's not worth it, right? Like you got to be you got to be getting two modes.
You have
and then,
to be getting 2 modes. Like this should be like if you had a wizard get all 3. Because why not?
The second mode is so conditional that it doesn't work. You need to be removing a creature, and you need to care about removing that creature or an artifact, which a lot of decks don't have, right?
And there's a lot of stacks pieces in vintage, like Thalia's, all the actual stacks, like Throne of Amethyst stuff. Like, I'm not seeing it in vintage. What about Commander? Is this like if you're playing a wizard spellslinger deck, it's going to be good enough, like a Kaza or like one of the, I don't know if I play it in like a Nala or something, because it's more like a creature style wizard deck, but if you're playing like a spellslinger wizard deck, it makes the cut there at least, right? No, not necessarily. Wow, boy, maybe this sets.
I mean, I don't know. You have to see
thought.
what's in your list, but it's just divination.
Divination
with some upside.
It's
I mean,
really
if you're getting
sad.
2, kill something in divination's not bad. Like if you're getting both modes.
I thought you didn't like the black and red sword because when you fire it off, you're just randomly killing artifacts you don't care about.
Well, it's creatures.
So when you divination and just snipe a random mana rock, are you very happy about this?
No, but 5
Yeah, I
mana,
don't think
5
so.
damage hits a lot of creatures, right? Like a reasonable number. That's not a horrible amount of damage.
I mean, sure, yeah, like in Commander, sure, but like that's just again, why wouldn't I actually just play something better like Prismari Command? Like, right, like this the only actually, you know what? As I think about this more, it's not even a sweet Commander card. This is good in a flavor deck. If you like Lord of the Rings,
it's good in a Gandalf, is it? Deck?
Yeah, it is a flavor deck.
I gotta ask you at least about one more card, which is the last one on the list. Smeagol. I wanted to mention Smeagol, but I think it's really bad. It's just funny that Smeagol, if you run into Belcher, can mill their entire deck like in one shot, which is kind of hilarious. Although it's not a very good card. I can't pronounce the last card, Richard. Why don't you pronounce?
Don't you? But you just watched the thing. You know exactly.
Actually,
how to pronounce
I
this.
learned from Twitch chat that's actually just vile, and like apparently Tolkien's so pretentious he has to spell it with PH because it's like some really smart guy way of saying vile. Like, come on now, Tolkien, come on, buddy.
Wait. But I know you brushed right past it, but I just want to say Smeagol, helpful guide, actually like playable in Historic because Belcher
Whoa.
is very prominent.
Ooh, yeah, that's if you run into any deck. So I guess we should read Smeagol then if we're going to talk about it a little bit. What does Smeagol do, Richard?
All right. 3 mana Golgari card, 4/2, legendary creature, halfling horror. At the beginning of your end step, if a creature died under your control, the ring tempts you. Whenever the ring tempts you, target opponent reveals from the top of their library until they reveal a land. Put that card onto the battlefield tapped under your control, and the rest into their graveyard. So Belcher doesn't play lands, so they get belched.
Oops, all spells.
Not the good way.
I will say that it's unlikely that you'll see Belcher. I mean, maybe not as likely you'll see Belcher in Modern, but you will see Belcher in Historic. and
I mean, a 4/2 that or a 4/2 for 3 that ramps you isn't horrible, right? Especially if you're like a sack deck, if you're some sort of like Cat Oven, like something where you're consistently triggering it. I don't like incidental milling my opponent, then it starts to look like Sort of Body and Mind to me. But if I'm actually milling the entire deck,
yeah, I agree.
Isn't this card really good?
Is it?
Then you just play all of the ring tempts you cards, and they're all rampant growths at this point.
I guess that's true.
Am I understanding this? Every time the ring tempts you, you just ramp from your opponent's deck.
Yeah, so if you can do it multiple times a turn, you can ramp and mill multiple times a turn. Yeah, it is.
Isn't that insane? Can't we do something with this?
I'll be very real with you. I am going to build Golgari Mill when this card comes to Moto, if it ever does.
I mean, there are a lot of ring tempt you cards. There are plenty of them, just like cheap removal spells and so forth. So I guess like you're thinking Commander, probably, Richard. Like play the good rings tempt you cards.
Any format. I feel like turning all your spells into rampant growths, like it's gotta be good, no? Like, can't you do something with that?
Yeah,
I think this card doesn't even need the ring tempts you cards, right? Because it itself triggers the ring tempting, right?
You do need something
you have
to
self-sacrifice.
Right,
Yeah,
right,
if you
yeah.
play
Which
self-sacrifice,
is
you can also ramp.
Sure, right? But like, in Golgari, that's like the forte, right? Like, you know what I mean? So like, yeah, like I think Smeagol Helpful Guide, like, look, the internet often asks me, Krim, how many times can you build a mill deck? Let me tell you, there's another way right now. So
it's cheap enough for Coco. Yeah, maybe this card. So was this the best card
What
we
if
talked
you
about today?
Smeagol, untap,
I actually
and then
think this
play
might be
all
the
the ring
best card
Tempsy
we've
cards.
talked
How many
about.
lands can you untap with?
Wait, no, but Smeagol untap and play what?
So on turn 4, you play as many ring Tempsy cards. How many cards is that?
You could theoretically play 4. There's
You
a
play
bunch of
4.
there's a bunch of 1 mana ring Tempsu cards. Yeah.
So you can go to effectively like 8 mana.
Yeah.
on turn 5.
So you're like storm
That's
off.
primeval Titanable.
That
okay, so
I mean,
so
you do
wait a
have to.
minute. Wait, is this the most modern playable
is
card?
Amulet good now?
I mean, you do have to fill your deck with like Sam's Desperate Rescue and Golems, but like you got to play a bunch of cards that are okay, but not super exciting. But maybe
I feel this has the most potential of every card we've seen. Ramping
Yeah, it's
is
really
very
sad.
powerful.
And there's the
You
Golem
blew
too.
right
that
past the actual best card, Seth.
I didn't expect you guys to be so high. I was like, haha, Belcher, like get him, but I didn't. I didn't really think through, I guess, all the implications.
Okay, wait. What if you played as bad Storm? Like you storm 20 times and they're milled.
Yeah,
right.
you could.
Because they only have so many lands.
You could mill out there and tell your deck. That is possible. Like if you could start copying your ring Tempsu, like
Is
instants
there a
and
rings
sorceries.
tempt you loop?
Yo, Sultai Mill in
loop
Modern?
somehow?
Can we make like it's already a thing, right? Like so now we get can we get crabs?
Oh, yo,
Smeagol?
you play with crabs.
Yeah, crabs.
Because
Smeagol?
whenever you tempt, you landfall and you build them some more and you hit some
Yeah.
lands.
Oh,
Yeah. Oh, that's synergy
That's
right
kinda-
there.
we did
Yeah.
it.
Yo, hold
We
on.
broke
Hold on,
it.
hold on,
It's
hold on,
actually
hold on.
broke it.
very
Hold on,
confusing.
we're cooking right now. Either A, this is like the digging at the bottom of the barrel. You let us know, comments and listeners, or we're cooking right now. I think we're cooking, dude.
maybe both. It might be both. All right. What about the last card, Richard? Vial. I just got to know what you think about this for Commander.
Okay, 3 mana legendary artifact. If you would draw a card while you have no cards, it's this card. When you have no cards in hand, draw 2 cards instead. If you would gain life while you have 5 or less life, you gain twice that much life. Tap, add 1 mana of any color.
So I'm like the biggest Celestis fan. I love my 3 mana rocks with upside. The question is this actually an upside? I hear people like, we were talking about this during Twitch chat, and people are like, wow, this card's so busted. Like, it does all this stuff. I was like, isn't it not going to do anything other than mana lift? Like, 95% of time, because you're not going to meet those conditions? Like, I don't know.
Card
Like,
is pure garbaggio, dude. Like,
What if you're a madness deck? What if you're a you gotta be like a self-discard.
like Hazoret. If you're playing like Hazoret or some Hellbent commander,
But that
sure.
doesn't help you though, because if you're trying to Hazoret down, and then
Dude,
you
this
draw
is-
2 cards back.
This is the most, like, I spent all of this game trying to get Fateful Hour online, and then it undoes my Fateful Hour.
Maybe
Dude,
life
this is-
swap?
this is
what's
so
that
bad.
Orzhov life swap Angel Tomer's played a few times? Like maybe in that deck you like get down to 1 and then repaint kind or whatever. Like,
Wait, no,
But
why
you just
would I
swapped
do
lines.
that?
Did you really need
Yeah.
to gain double when you just swapped lines with someone?
Yeah.
What about Soul
card is
Sisters?
so
Is it
bad,
good in
dude.
Soul Sisters?
So
So
you're the person to answer that. Is this good in Soul
no, it's
Sisters?
Soul Sisters
Would
has
you
way
play-
too much
is this-
life. It's got way
Would
too
you play
much.
this?
If
Would
you get
play
under
this in
5
Modern?
life in Soul Sisters, you have done it very wrong. Like that's the whole point of the deck is to not be under 5 life. So
Well, okay,
not
so you're
worth
saying
it?
you wouldn't play this in Modern?
no, I don't think so. I don't think I'd
Dude,
even
this
play
card
it. I have a high tolerance
Is
for
this
3
playable
mana.
in Commander?
Maybe in those very specific decks, but I have a high tolerance for 3 mana Valley Rocks, and I don't see this as having enough upside for me to want to play it.
and
It's just a generic
trust.
deck.
The listeners know because you try to fight for your life for that terrible 3 mana Mind Stone. That was in black. I don't
That's
even
so
remember
good.
the name of it. But
Yeah,
the point
me
is,
either, but it's good.
Vial of Galadriel is like so bad. Like it is so bad. Wait. Okay, before someone like jumps in, actually, it's good in this deck. Okay, there's probably 3 decks this is good in, but in majority of the times, this card is bad. This card is bad.
Well, any other Lord of the Rings thoughts before we move on and talk a bit of Pioneer?
Yes, something that I think that has been overlooked, by the way, Okay, actually, I don't think it's like good in like Pioneer or Modern at all. But the point is, it is a sweet card. I think in Commander, it's I don't know. It's like battles. It's the 3-mana board wipe that blows up all creatures power 3 or greater, and then
the like Hobbit board wipe.
Yeah, the Hobbit board wipe.
Battle of Bywater. 1 white. Sorcery. Destroy all creatures with power 3 or greater. Then create a food token for each creature you control.
I think that
flavor of that killing people and then eating them. I missed that part of the movie. Is that the cannibal fanfic version of Lord of the Rings?
I
see. You don't eat them.
I think
this goes
is
in my
cool.
Hannibal deck.
My Hannibal Lecter deck.
Hold on.
Is the card good? Like,
I think the card's cool.
It is cool.
It blows it. So the difference here is it's power 3 or greater, and not like toughness 4 or greater or something like that. Because we have like whatever the bad one is, right?
Retribution of the Meek, I want to say.
Yeah, something like that. I think Battle of Bywater's pretty cool, and it kind of just like I don't know. It's a sweet commander card. I think Sharky Tyrant of the Shire, kind of a cool card as well. But overall, I think that blue kind of got hardcore pooped on this whole set. Blue sucks. Every card that's blue in this set like is real bad. Like, oh my god, bad.
So blue's like the worst color?
I just wanted to point that out. Like, did y'all notice that? Like, I think blue is like sorry for my language here, but ass. Like the actual worst.
I mean,
you have Stern Scolding, Krim.
You got it.
Dude, you are trolling right now with a capital T if you think that's even mentionable. Like, blue in this set is like offensive. Like, even the land, the Riverdale land,
that is the worst
blue
of
land got
that is the worst of the lands.
The poop one on that. And I'm just like, what the hell?
Storm of Suramon's a cool card. Like, I think Storm of Suramon,
the enchantment?
Like it's not gonna be played in Modern or something, but copying your things, that's like super sweet. But yeah, blue probably is the worst color from the set. Maybe it's a Lord of the Rings thing. Maybe it just doesn't line up flavor wise.
I feel like Gandalf should be like
the best.
Come on,
right?
Gandalf
for sure.
He's white,
right?
okay.
Yeah.
First of all, it ends up white.
Give me an Azorius Gandalf. Give me literally any variant of a blue Gandalf. Why is Gandalf?
I mean, even the flavor tells you right there, Krim. When Gandalf was blue, he was kind of mediocre, and then he came back as the white Gandalf. It was OP.
And is that even true? Like read the white Gandalf to me one more time. Gandalf the white.
It's
a Panharmonicon, I guess, that is Flash.
Don't underrate Panharmonicon, Krim. Keep those words out of your mouth now. Come on now. Oh, all right. What about Pioneer? Like, Krim, there's a big tournament, and you noticed a pretty cool deck. It didn't quite make the top 8, but it did pretty well. What's up in Pioneer these days?
Dude, I thought Pioneer was this like solved format kind of thing, right? Like until they ban mono green, but which, like is still like in the top 8 of this format or this whole like thing, Rakdos Sack, mono green. But if you go just outside of that, you actually find, holy cow, Storm Herald combo.
Yes.
And let me just say here, well, whoever like Mark, I don't know how to pronounce their last name, so I won't. I will just say that they were cooking here because they had to dig deep. There is a enchantment in here called Burning Anger.
Yes.
It is a 4 and a red enchant creature. It's an aura. Enchanted creature has tap. This creature deals damage equal to its power to target player or creature. Wow. From M15. So you're hoping to just like the deck is as you would expect. Satyr Wayfinders, things like that, all the self-mill. Until you get Classification, and then you Burning Anger, and then you tap and ping. And ping. And then, like, depending on how many Classifications you get, that determines the damage. But I assume that at least 20 is pretty good, right? 23 is pretty good.
It should just win you the game. Yeah, the Burning Anger is cute because Classification, which gives a creature +20/+20, it also makes you tap the creature to try to get around like the one-shot kill aspect. Burning Anger lets you tap the creature in response to the tap trigger, so you actually can win right away instead of like waiting an extra turn.
That's
I'm
like
surprised,
some spice.
I'm
That's
surprised
top
to see
16.
it do so well. Yeah, top 16, like 10. It was like, I think one game out of the top 8, so it actually came very close.
On top of that, like day 1 or something, like the decks that took off that went undefeated were nuts to me. It was just like, what's going on here? It feels like I thought somebody was like, this was like Commander or like some format I just never heard of, but it was Pioneer, because day 1 was like that player, and then like some demi liches running around, and then of course there's Waste Not.
Actually,
Waste Not.
The Demolich deck actually won the entire tournament. A Demolich Is It Phoenix deck because
good lord,
yeah, the number. Really though, this tournament makes Pioneer seem like it's in a decent place. Like I know we always talk about Rakdos, Mono Green, but there's 2 Rakdos sacrifices in the top 8. Otherwise, every deck is unique. Even the top 16, you got like Lotus Field, Mono White. There's only one Mono Green. There's one Mono Green in the top 8. Not that means it's bad or whatever, but there wasn't like it was flooded. So it seems like a pretty diverse format right now.
But yeah, like I mean, like if you go to this tournament, right? It was in Athens. You go to 58th place. You get Mauricio, and they're playing Waste Not. I think one of the Waste Not decks started off day 1 like 5-0, and I'm just like, what's happening right now? Why is Waste Not here? Like, what's going on? What format is this? And it's, I don't know what's going on. That's all I gotta say. I'm just saying, this Pioneer tournament has made it seem like, I'm not gonna lie to you, that if they just did a little bit of house cleaning on the ban list, dude, we've got a pretty wild and wide open Brewers format.
I will say the new, so like 2 weeks ago, we had Hogak and Pioneer and Boros Convoke, which I guess there is someone who made top 16 with that, but mostly that deck is like kind of flopped in tournaments so far. And then this week we had Splinter Twin in Pioneer.
Yeah, new Splinter Twin.
And I don't see that anywhere here, right? The like Archfiend of Dross Metamorphic Alteration combo deck.
So that's heavily because of a meta call, right? Because everyone was playing whatever the Doomblade from Realm Reborn, the D&D set, which says destroys non-demon, non-dragon, right? So all you did was you played Archfiend of Dross, and then you would just use, what's that card called? Metamorphic Alteration. Mm-hmm. And when it enters the battlefield, choose a creature, your opponent's. Enchanted creature is a copy of the chosen creature. You'll choose Archfiend of the Dross, and it'll have none of the counters, so you pass, they lose the game. And let me tell you, that deck, I've been playing that on Arena and Explorer, and it's been going on a tear because most people just like, oh, I'm gonna play mono green, I'm not gonna do anything. and then all of a sudden they lose the game, and I'm like, well, maybe you should have interacted a little bit more. And like, look, for every time this deck pantses mono green in Explorer, it also gets like bodied by a control deck real hard. But whatever, this deck is so sweet. I don't know. This is a fun deck. This deck is a fun deck.
It's a really cool idea. Yeah, control seems bad because you need your opponent to have a creature, and if they're just going to Teferi you to death or whatever, that's kind of a tough sell to actually have them have a creature. But yeah, it's really cool to see like new things happening in Pioneer. In just the last few weeks, we've seen 2 new breakout decks. You mentioned Waste Not. We're like talking about all the Storm Herald, so it's definitely not a sell format. So I guess if you're looking for something a little different to play, Pioneer seems like it's in a pretty sweet spot. But anyway, I think it might be fish mail time. Richard, do we have any fish mail this week?
All right. If you have questions, you can send them to @MTGGoldfish with the hashtag MTGFishmail. We'll get to your questions on air. Dave the Noob, can we please get a supercut of Saffron Olive pronouncing Lord of the Rings card names from set previews? Seth, what have the comments yelled?
I intentionally, so I waited until after spoiler season to watch the movie, so I just kind of made up my own pronunciation for most of these iconic characters, and Lord of the Rings fans were not super pleased, but yeah, it could be kind of funny. Like just have me say it my way and then have like a clip of the movie with the actual pronunciation. I might work on that sometime.
All right.
I mean,
Rhinexus. I'm surprised you guys didn't talk about the Cauldron Familiar combo with Samwise and a sack outlet. Just need Cauldron Familiar from the hand to start the chain. That's a combo to watch out for. What is the Cauldron Familiar combo here?
So a little bit focused on doing cool things with Lannis and Academy Manufacture with Samwise. Samwise, when a creature ETBs, you make a food token. So if you have Samwise, a sack outlet like Viserys here and Cauldron Familiar, you play the Familiar, drain for 1, make a food token, sack the Familiar to the sack outlet, in the graveyard, sack the food, get it back, that'll make another food with Sam, drain again. Essentially, with that setup, infinite cat ETB triggers to drain your opponent out of the game. And if it was in Pioneer, I think it would be very, very good. I'm definitely building the deck in Modern. We'll see. We haven't really seen Calvin decks take off in Modern yet, so I don't know. Do you think that 3-piece combo is like competitive?
So it's half of an oven, is what we're saying on a creature, right? Because you get the food, but you still need a sack outlet now.
Yes, it's like half of an oven, but it's repeatable.
But it's like the most
so
important half of the oven that's missing.
Oven, though, can't really go infinite because you have to tap it. So if you have a repeatable sack outlet, you actually go fully infinite, win the game.
Okay. Yeah.
Is that enough? They're all cheap pieces. Like, it's a couple of 1-drops and a 2-drop. You can Coco into all of them.
You can Coco into it. Anything is possible. You can Coco into it.
Does it add devotion, though? Does it add any devotion? Yeah, not enough pips.
That sounds extremely underwhelming if I'm Cocoing into that.
I mean, it does win the game. I think I'm going to build it.
Guess.
Like, expect to see it on the YouTube in the future, because I'm definitely going to build it and try it. Maybe it's an against odds deck. Maybe it's actually good, but it's definitely cool.
Wait, was this our Coco combo from last week?
No, there's also the Rosie Cotton Scurryo combo, which is 2-card infinite squirrel combo. Yeah.
It's all these like green-based creature combos that can be Cocoable. Which one is the best one?
I'm...
So
pretty sure the one we talked about last week, right? Because that one goes infinite with one less of a piece.
The only problem with that one, so the one from last week, 2 pieces, you make infinite creatures, but you're susceptible to like a sweeper. If your opponent has a wrath, like it undoes all of your work because you got to wait for your squirrels to not be summoning sick. The one from this week, extra piece, but you win right away. There's no like give my opponent a chance to do anything. I don't know. That's actually kind of an interesting question. 3-piece combo that immediately wins, or 2-piece combo that wins would suspend 1 if you dodge a wrath, which is actually more competitive. I guess you could probably play them, jam them all together. Coco finds them all. Jam all the Lord of the Rings combos together actually, and see what happens.
Why are we even deciding when we can just put it all together?
Yeah.
You need 4 color, because... like Rakdos are the sacrifice colors, so you can't just really jam Samwise into like a random sack deck. Otherwise, you could sack like everything is 2 triggers, right? You get the creature and the food, but I still like Smeagol as my dark horse here.
Yo, Smeagol's gonna take off. Smeagol's gonna take off, dude. I'm dibs on for that for Commander Clash, by the way.
Ron Bolofsky, Lord of the Rings is big time flavor, but if Universes Beyond never existed, would this set have just come out with magic lore instead? Would that just be like Dominaria or something?
I mean,
just remove the names. Like,
if all of Magic, if all of Magic is just based off of like this kind of fantasy, that'd just be any other Magic set, right?
I will say, like, if I didn't know what Lord of the Rings was, and I didn't until a week ago, but if I didn't know what Lord of the Rings was, I would believe this was a Magic set, right? Like, it's not so far... like, if you see Walking Dead, you're like, okay, something weird is going on as far as this Magic set. When I see these cards, if I didn't know Lord of the Rings existed, I would believe it was just a Magic set. Like, it looks Magic-y, right?
Do you think you can recognize it as Lord of the Rings if I changed all the names and, like, exchanged the creature types?
Well, and get rid of the ring tempts you. If you get rid of references to the
I guess the
ring
ring tempts
stuff,
might give it away.
But I don't think so.
They could have done, like, what they should have done was make this an entire Sonic the Hedgehog set. That'd have been sick, dude.
That's coming.
That'd have been sick.
Yeah, that's
when
coming.
Sonic 3 comes out.
Yo, I'm just saying, like, it's got 2 really good movies, so I'm just saying.
I mean, realistically, I think this set will do well, and that will open the door for more Universes Beyond. And Look, we've run out of the closest things to Magic, which are Dungeons and Dragons and literally the ancestor, like Lord of the Rings. So the next one's gonna have to go away from this like kind of fantasy setting, like this orcs, elves stuff. So I don't know what IP that would be. Maybe an Angels and Demons IP. That's the other aspect that isn't really touched upon that we could get into. I don't know, an Angel and Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I don't know. So, what is the 2023 Angels and Demons IP?
So we know coming up, Doctor Who, which is kind of not very magic-y. Final Fantasy, that's like, that could be pretty magic-y, right?
But those are secret layers, right? There's no way it's a full set, is it?
I don't really know
if it's a full
We know
set
Doctor
yet with
Who
Final
is
Fantasy.
Commander Dex. Final Fantasy and Assassin's Creed, we know it's coming next year, but we don't actually know what they are.
They just announced the next version of 7.2 or whatever in 2024. So my guess is that's a secret layer that's going to correspond exactly with the release date of the new Final Fantasy.
Yep, which makes me extremely sad because 7 is the most overhyped Final Fantasy. Where is the love for 10? Also, are you
Stop getting us canceled, Crib? We all love 7.
Yeah, okay.
7 is great.
Look, I love 7, but we all know 10 was the best one. And on top of that, are you playing the new one coming out, Richard? Comes out at the end of the month.
I play mobile games now, Crib. I don't have time.
Okay, all right.
I don't have time to get sweaty. And they're like, Final Fantasy 7 will be like 10 discs or something. I'm like, no, like, make it a 2-hour game. I don't have time to sink 60 hours into a JRPG in 2023.
Dude,
okay?
all you do is you sit with baby Richard, aka we still haven't confirmed. Like, no one's actually ever like seen that. Like, they can't disprove it that I could be Richard's
See it every
son.
week on the podcast, Crib.
I don't know. I
my
could
son.
be Richard. I could be Richard's son. No one knows, right? Like But yeah, you sit there with baby Richard, you just play some RPG game for like 18 hours. It's bonding, and your child gets to see Buster Blades and cool things like that.
And wears glasses by the time he's 2 years old.
Hey, that's, look, greatness at any cost, I guess.
Oh, but you know what? Realistically, Seth, I think it will be one of your favorite IPs coming up, and it's going to be Star Wars.
Oh.
So we go fantasy, and then after we're done with fantasy, you go space fantasy. That's how we always do it, right? And then that would be Star Wars. That would be StarCraft, like one of those things. So I feel Star Wars would be an IP that Wizards would be very happy to latch their hands onto if they could.
I think that's true. Wasn't there? Pretty sure there was a Mark Rosewater question about like, how do y'all feel about outer space sets or something like a little while ago. So maybe I was thinking they were making a Magic one, but maybe it's Star Wars. Maybe I mean, I want an Ewok commander. I'd be down with that. That's the thing I know about Star Wars.
I want to
Is that the only thing you know about Star Wars?
Lord of the Rings, there's ghost people. Star Wars, there's Ewoks. That's what else you need to know. Anyway, Richard, if people want to send in questions for next week, how do they actually go about that?
Yep, hit us up on Twitter at MTGGoldfish with the hashtag MTGFishmail. I'll get to your questions on air.
And I believe that brings us to the end of episode 437 of the MTG Goldfish podcast. So, Richard, Krem, thanks for hanging out. Thanks to everyone for listening. Thanks to Card Conduit and Magic at Sea for supporting the show. And we'll be back next week to talk about Command Fest this week. I know, Krim, that's right. You're going to be down in Florida, and I'm going to be in Baltimore. So if you happen to be at one of those Command Fests, swing by, say hello. We'd love to meet you. So we'll talk about our Command Fest experience and whatever else goes on in the world of Magic. So until then, have a great week, everyone. And this is Crew signing out.